Happy New Year. 2020 is over. It's been a lot of years since I could genuinely say that I was happy with the new year. Uh, those of you who remember me from the studio remember that, the overnight New Year's parties, they were fun, but at the same time, at 5 in the morning, I would look out the windows and I'd see the drunks staggering home from the bars. And you know me, those things affected me. And over time, New Year stopped being one of my favorite holidays. Well, this year, it's been a wonderful New Year. Um, John David video chatted with me from the Philippines, and I watched their fireworks at his place, and he introduced me to a horde of kids. And of course, I said hello to all of his family that I already know and some that I didn't. And that made me happy. And then Jason cut my hair because I haven't dared go in a salon in months, and it looked like crap. So he cut my hair, and that made me happy. And his birthday was the 30th, and I had been down there with a cake, well, with a trifle actually. He wanted a trifle, not a cake, so we had a trifle. I took him a trifle, and I made chicken Alfredo, and it was lots of fun. And I watched them play games. It was fun. We played Magic the Gathering, not a game I play a lot of, but it was fun. So I'm actually have had a happy New Year's Eve. So I want everyone to have a happy New Year. But I also want to touch on three serious things. Two of them mostly American, one of them global. Now, I could just say, well, we've got sanity coming back to the administration in 20 days. And I'd be right. We have sanity coming back to the administration in 20 days. But there are things left that we need to deal with. And the first one is we have to deal with reality. People who know me, and some of those on this stream do, I'm sure, by the time people finish watching it, know that for 40 years, I've written tournaments for Dungeons and Dragons D20, some modern, some sci-fi, some other stuff, but D20 type stuff, and occasionally Empire of the Petal Throne or something else. And I wrote the majority of a book for one of the systems. We were playtesters for some of the books. The things that have come out from the Q people, I would not use for the villains in a tournament I was writing because it's too unbelievable and too ridiculous. And yet people believe it. Hundreds of thousands of people turning over children to join a seat. What? And nobody ever talked. Oh, no. Bullshit. Sorry to be so blunt, but that deserves me being that blunt. A lawyer yesterday almost at this point, who apparently was one of Trump's people, Lynn Wood, I think his name is, out there saying that, Roberts, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, a conservative Republican, of course, was actually in league with Biden and with whatever his name, Epstein, and that he had delivered children to Epstein and all of this utter crap. And then he says to ask Epstein because he claims Epstein's alive. This is insanity. Sidney Powell, the other attorney that's involved in this is insanity. We as a nation need to deal with reality, whether we're on the right or the left. We need to look at the people like this, no matter how many there are, and we need to say these people need mental help. We will help them get mental help and set them aside. That's one. Two, almost everyone that knows me well knows that at this point I'm largely, I guess, what could be termed a high church universalist. I don't think there is such a thing as hell. I never did, realistically. Even when I was an evangelical, I thought that was ludicrous. And I've come to believe that all religions lead to God. That's a separate argument. I'd be happy to have it with you. But there's an argument I'd rather have. If you are Christian, particularly if you are evangelical Christian, what are you doing? It is clear. It isn't open to interpretation. Care for the widows and orphans. Welcome the foreigners in your gate. Take care of the poor, the sick, the imprisoned. What are you people doing? I was in that movement at one point, and I believed it. It's what I was trained in the ministry for. What are you people doing? Selfish, greedy, whitened sepulchres. You offer nothing spiritual. Nothing. You disgrace Christ if you believe in the Christ that you say you do, or the historic figure that we're fairly certain existed. You disgrace anything. You wouldn't even recognize what you say. How dare you? And I will go a step further. Those people who eventually view this, and there will be a few dozen, forward this to any evangelical leader you want to. I will happily, in writing, debate any of them on this topic. They are disgracing what Christ stood for. I'm not so old I've forgotten everything I learned in seminary. Your reason for being a Christian is to love and care for others. But the message others are getting from you is one of exclusion, of hate, of white nationalism. You disgrace Christ. You spit on his crucified body. If you claim you're Christian and you are on the right, you are a disgrace. And I will happily have that discussion in writing with anyone willing, with the caveat you put in writing that I can publish our exchanges as long as I put them in context. And I will happily give you the same permission. Your positions are indefensible. And no one challenges you except people like me. And then you don't really have to fight us because we're too small, aren't we? One of you did once. And I stupidly didn't force them to put it in writing in advance. And after a series of exchanges, even though I reserve the right to publish this on every email, he suddenly informed me in writing, I forbid you to publish anything we've discussed. He knew he'd lost. He can cover it any way he wants. I talked to a lawyer, a very good lawyer who's a friend of mine, and he said, yeah, you would probably win. You would almost certainly win. But can you afford the lawyer? Do you have the time? And the answer was no. I didn't. In the future, anybody who is willing to discuss these things with me, it's going in writing that I can publish our exchanges. And then third, and this is to the globe, this is to everyone, we have to address the possibility of our species killing itself. From the time of the Drake equation, a large number of scientists have believed and have said that the reason we are not crawling with alien species is not the speed of light. It's the fact that when most species reach a certain point in technological development, they either aren't socially advanced enough or they get into a war because they're not unified. And this is called the Great Sieve Theory, because there are, in fact, we now know, billions of habitable planets just in this galaxy, uncountable numbers through the universe, say nothing of the multiverse. But where are they? Even if there are a few, and I do believe there are personally, there aren't many. The universe should be crawling with them unless they're wiping themselves out. And I fear that we are on our way to wiping ourselves out through ignorance, as already discussed, possibly through war, although I hope we can avoid that, and most definitely through destroying our own planet. Climate change is not a joke. Yes, the people who stand to make more money by not fixing climate change can manage to get 1.5 roughly percent of scientists to speak on their behalf. And I knew someone who did. He rests in light now, but he took the money. He thought it was better for his family that he took the money and let other people worry about the truth. He knew he was lying for the company he worked for. I'm not going to name him or the company, but he told me with his own mouth that he knew he was lying. So I do not believe any climate denier. We all know. We all know. And you can snowballs out of Idaho. People who don't understand how climate change works shouldn't discuss it. There's a reason we have scientists. So part of this whole save the world is start respecting science. Get vaccines when they come out so that you don't wipe out part of your own family. The anti-vax movement is insane. I actually saw someone earlier today. I thought it was a joke, but it wasn't. Try to defend to another young man, they were both young men, try to defend not taking the COVID vaccine based on the idea that everyone who took the original smallpox vaccine had died at this point in time. Yeah, they took that vaccine in 1756. Yes, they're all dead. That wasn't a problem with the vaccine. Many of them lived decades and decades longer than they would have without it. Please, love one another. Do well by one another. Have a good new year. Be happy. Enjoy the little things, but save the world for future generations. Thank you very much. Be well.